Cut to the chase. This is a brief clip from the YoJoeShow podcast, where we dive into everything: politics, tech, aviation, space, science, health, and medicine. Stick around for conversation that clips right to what matters.
Loeb, renowned theoretical physicist, Harvard professor, head of the Galileo Project, joins us once again. Professor Loeb, always wonderful to see you. And let's start with this. I mean, you are one of the most outspoken voices pushing for these images from NASA. They're convinced it's just a comet. Are you convinced?
Thanks for having me, Natasha. Well, the verdict should not be decided by administrators at NASA. It should be decided by the data. And in fact, the best image that they offered at the press conference indicated that there is fuzz elongated. There is some glow in front of the object in the direction of motion, not in the direction of the sun, as we might expect from evaporation of pockets of ice as a result of illumination by sunlight, or the push of the gas that comes out of those pockets of ice opposite to the direction of the sun. Instead, we see it perpendicular to the direction of the sun, in the direction of motion. And the question is whether this is a beam of light or a beam of particles that are used to clear out any micrometeorites that might be impacting the object as it moves forward. So to me, it raises more questions than it answers.
This is so secret. There have been very few people in our entire government that have been allowed or provided access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis.
People have been hurt protecting and hiding this information.
Some people claim it would cost them their lives if they spoke out about these things.
Information being locked away that could change the trajectory for species.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
Tantalizing, right? Joining me now is the director and producer, Dan Farah. Dan, congratulations on the project.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Non-human intelligence. Must that mean little green men?
No. I made a point of making sure this doc didn't sensationalize the topic at all. We stayed super grounded. We kept it very real. The 34 military, government, intelligence officials I interviewed all broke their silence to reveal that there's been an 80-year cover-up of the existence of non-human intelligent life. And moreover, that the United States is engaged in a high-stakes secret Cold War race with adversarial nations to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin. And the stakes couldn't be higher for this situation. And everyone I interviewed felt it was time to break their silence with what they could lawfully disclose, tell the public what they know that can be shared legally, and do it arm in arm with other credible people in a way that's safe.
Those are two bookends. One about the Atlas Comet and a controversial Harvard researcher who keeps always asking questions as to whether it's just a regular piece of debris in space or whether it's something more intelligent. And then this new documentary that just dropped. I had the opportunity to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Age of Disclosure.
I haven't heard it, but I'm very eagerly awaiting to watch it. Thank you for sharing that with me. The Three-Eye Atlas is a very interesting phenomenon, like we saw with Oumuamua previously to it. There are some of these comments that don't seem like comments in any way, shape, or form, just by the way they're acting. Specifically, like Avi Loeb was saying regarding the outgassing. So it was moving in a certain way, and usually the only way that the comet will move in that way is if the sun or another star melts the ice, and that causes release of particles, which causes it to move in the equal and opposite reaction. So move the other way. And here it's not the way that the sun is shining the light on. So that is very odd. And there are a bunch of other things that are really odd. Where it's coming, it's an interstellar object. So it's coming from outside of the plane of essentially the orbit of the planets in our solar system. So it's an external visitor. So there are some very interesting things here. And I definitely advise following Dr. Avi Loeb really closely because he is the utmost authority on the matter. And then yeah, I like the question. Does that mean that they're green little men? And he said, no. I'm waiting to watch the documentary, but it does seem very interesting. And it would be very refreshing. Trump said before he ran in 2020 that he will release all these kind of UFO files. So it's almost obvious that there's some type of life in the universe aside from planet Earth. The real question is, has intelligent beings have they come to Earth, and have we captured their transport vehicles, and are we investigating them? And it seems, according to this documentary, the answer is yes. And if so, that would be very kind of earth-shattering news, because it means that they may be interested in what happened if we caught them once. Doesn't mean we can catch them again. What happens if they return with a much larger force? This is like sci-fi in reality. So it's exciting and terrifying a little bit on both sides, but let's wait for the real evidence to drop.
Yeah, so the documentary is quite telling. What's interesting is it was done over a number of years, and there's a lot of elected officials, some of which are still in office, who are openly speaking about what was unspoken.
Yeah, David Fravor is a phenomenal source on that, and he was on the Joe Rogan Experience a bunch of times, so it's worth listening to his interviews on the subject. There are a lot of people who are very smart and have very interesting stories of the things that supposedly happened in the 2000s.
So in the documentary, and the stuff that's
or the
been
1980s,
disclosed,
sorry.
Yeah, what's been disclosed was the following: that there are crashed non-human craft, that there was at least one interaction at a military base, which involved CIA and Air Force, I believe, where they communicated with some aliens, supposedly. There's a lot of sort of discussion as to the nature, and they're not saying they're from outer space. There's a hinting that, without saying it, that they may be coming from the depths of the oceans, because we've really not quite explored just, I think, a little over 27% of the ocean floor. So much of the ocean is, we have no idea what's down there and what's going on. And there's these spottings of these visualizations of craft that are moving out of the ocean, up into the sky and back into the ocean. So
if there are aliens hiding right beneath our feet or beneath our ocean, that would be pretty crazy.
Right. When there was testimony again on this, they weren't saying exactly what they're seeing is from, but they are saying that for the last 80 some years, there's been a cover up by not just the United States, but other governments, and that they believe that Russia and perhaps China have actual information and maybe some downed aircraft or whatever you want to call them, UAP. In fact, the FAA has a number for pilots to call, and there have been so many reports of these things. We used to call them UFOs. And ultimately, it's finally now the first time that people are coming forward and saying, this is what I knew, this is what I saw, this is who I spoke with. And essentially, there's an effort to allow these people to speak without being discredited, or some feared for their lives. Basically, they'll either be ridiculed. That's why the thing about the little green men, because anyone that would say this, the CIA apparently had a campaign to actively make fun of all these stories, to just ridicule all. But if you believe any of this, and I can't imagine all these people would put themselves in front of a camera and say what they're saying. Also, it came out that at least two presidents, one of which is Trump under his first term, and other presidents, including right after 9/11, President Bush apparently was going to release information on this. And they were advised not to because of the ramifications and how people would take the news that we're not the only intelligent species out there, because ultimately it impacts a lot. It impacts potentially religion, philosophy, certainly science. So interesting story as it continues to evolve. We'll keep watching it.
We've got to keep monitoring it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, I think that the most important thing is, hey, just like the Epstein information, we want to see what's there. We want to hear, and then everyone can make their own conclusions once we know.
I got to say that aliens is one of the topics that I definitely did a 180 about, and I changed my mind. I used to be completely, you remember when we met, I was in this staunch, this is all made up wacko stories. And then the more I investigated it, the more I discovered that, like a lot of conspiracy theories, it does seem fairly likely that there is a lot of truth to it. Not necessarily every detail, but it's definitely worth investigating further. And I'm happy that now the official policy of the US government is to investigate it and hopefully be very transparent about it.
I agree. And again, like everything, everyone can make their own decisions, but at least have the information and have these discussions so we know what's happening and not be ridiculed for asking questions.
I just got to say, if the worst the CIA is doing to shut people up is to embarrass them with funny stories and about green men, then the CIA has improved. At least they're not taking people out in order to shut them up. So we're a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and the issue is that we don't always get, like you saw the BBC story. Some of the news stories are twisted. Some of the information that were given by these experts isn't accurate. And that's also, as we've discussed in numerous episodes, that includes healthcare. A lot of the information we're given is
definitely
found later to be inaccurate. If you follow the guidance and follow the science and follow the experts, you found out later you probably shouldn't have.
Always question the experts. Always.
You can listen to them. Definitely should listen, but question. Don't blindly follow. And
exactly.
We know during COVID, there was a lot of stifling of that. People couldn't ask questions. People couldn't, just like the whole UAP, UFO thing, people that were asking questions are being ridiculed. So that shouldn't be the way it is. It's always important to ask the dumb questions because they may not be so dumb in the end.
We hope you found our clip segment informative. For more content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and watch the full episode.